Hello students, once again I am in front of you with an important topic, that is intercostal nerve. All of you know the intercostal nerve is a nerve which is present in the thoracic wall within the intercostal spaces. So let us go back to the intercostal spaces for a while, then we will come to the topic actual, that is intercostal nerve. All of us know there are 12 pairs of ribs, and the ribs are present on each side of the sternum and articulating with the vertebra behind and sternum in front. But 11th and 12th ribs, they are floating, so they are not extending up to the sternum, or rather in front they are deficient. So the space between the adjacent ribs are called intercostal spaces. So there are 11 intercostal spaces on each side, and the ribs are known as costae. So the spaces are called intercostal spaces, and all these intercostal spaces are filled up by three important muscles. From outside inwards, these muscles are external intercostals, internal intercostals, and the innermost one is innermost intercostals. Besides these muscles, these spaces are also traversed by some important structures. These are intercostal veins, intercostal arteries, and intercostal nerves. So our topic of discussion today is intercostal nerve. First question is, what is intercostal nerve? Where from it is arising, and where it is traversing, and what is its distribution? And at the end, some applied importance of knowing of these nerves. Let us go back to the spinal cord segments before discussing the intercostal nerve. And you all know there are 8 cervical segments of spinal cord, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, 5 sacral, of which the cervical segments, they form the cervical plexus as well as brachial plexus. In the lumbar segments and sacral segments, the nerve plexuses are the lumbar plexus and sacral plexus or sacrococcygeal plexus, like that. But in the thoracic region, there is no such peripheral nerve plexus. But in this thoracic region, the intercostal nerves are formed by the direct continuation of the anterior ramus of the spinal nerve. Now, what is this anterior ramus? I already told you in my another video on brachial plexus, and also you know from your knowledge of lumbar plexus what is this rami. Just I am telling you in short what is that rami. And if I draw a spinal cord segment like this, suppose this is one spinal cord segment, this is dorsal side, this is ventral side, and suppose it is T6 or T5, whatever may be, thoracic cord segment, and from this ventral horn, the ventral nerve roots are coming out like this, and from the dorsal horn, the roots are dorsal nerve roots. These roots and these ventral roots together form the spinal nerve. So this is spinal nerve. This spinal nerve divides into two branches, one ventral and one dorsal. these ventral branches and this is dorsal branches. These ventral branches are called ventral ramus. And these ventral nerves, they form the different nerve plexus in all the regions excepting in the thoracic region. So in the thoracic region, the ventral ramus of the thoracic spinal nerve will form the intercostal nerve. So if anybody asks you what is an intercostal nerve, your answer will be it is the ventral ramus of thoracic spinal nerve. Suppose I am asking you what is fourth intercostal nerve. Your answer will be it is a ventral ramus of fourth thoracic spinal nerve. Similarly, ventral ramus of 10th thoracic spinal nerve will be 10th intercostal nerve, like this. So as because there are 11 spaces and there are 12 segments of thoracic cord segment, so there will be T1 to T12 thoracic spinal nerves. So 12 thoracic spinal nerves, but there are 11 spaces. So from 1 to 11 spaces, all the spaces will contain their corresponding intercostal nerve. But below the 12th rib, the T12 nerve passes. So it will be called as subcostal nerve. Sub means below. So below the T12 is subcostal nerve or T12 spinal nerve. T1 to T11, every space with their corresponding intercostal nerve, and below T12 is the subcostal nerve. So there are 12 thoracic spinal nerves that are named as intercostal 11 and 1 subcostal. So now it is clear what is an intercostal nerve. It is the ventral ramus of the thoracic spinal nerves. Now we will discuss one by one from T1 to T12 thoracic spinal nerves or intercostal nerves. It is to be remembered that these intercostal nerves, they are distributed to supply the thoracic wall as well as abdominal wall. And in addition, T1 nerve and T2 nerve, they are forming the brachial plexus and will supply the upper part of the arm as well. And the T12 nerve or the subcostal nerve will also supply the gluteal skin also. So if we see what are the distribution of all these intercostal nerves, it will be like this. Let us make a chart to display the distribution of all these intercostal nerves region wise. Here we write distribution. And suppose this is T1 or first thoracic nerve and T2 or second thoracic spinal nerve or first and second intercostal nerve. They will supply thoracic wall as well as upper limb. Upper limb means upper part of the arm. And you know the T1 nerve, it forms the brachial plexus, and T2 nerve also going to supply the upper part of the arm as intercostal brachial nerve, that I will come later on. Till now we know the T1 and T2 intercostal nerve will supply thoracic wall as well as upper limb. Next T3 to T6. These 3, 4, 5, 6, that is 4 intercostal nerve. Here 2 intercostal nerve. They will supply thoracic wall. Thoracic wall only. This only is very important. Then T7 to T11, these 5 intercostal nerve, they will supply thoracic wall as well as abdominal wall. And last one, that is T12, intercostal nerve or subcostal nerve. It is not intercostal. So T12 subcostal nerve, this is one, will supply the abdominal wall as well as gluteal skin, gluteal area or gluteal skin. So 2 plus 6, 6 plus 5, 11 and 1. So there are total 12 nerves. They are distributed like this. So what did you observe from this chart? It is clearly shown that this T1 and T2, they are supplying two areas, thoracic wall and upper limb. The T7 to T11, they are supplying thoracic wall and abdominal wall. Subcostal nerve, they are supplying abdominal wall and gluteal skin. So only this T3 to T6 intercostal nerve, these 4 intercostal nerve, they are supplying only the thoracic wall. Why I am stressing on this point? Because these 4 intercostal nerves are called typical intercostal nerves. Because they are supplying only the thoracic wall, not in addition to upper limb, nor the anterior abdominal wall, nor the gluteal skin. But here and here, in 3 areas, you see here all these nerves, they are supplying 2 areas, but here only one, that is thoracic wall. So the intercostal nerves which are confined to supply only in the thoracic wall, they are called typical intercostal nerves. So if you are asked, what do you mean by typical intercostal nerve? The answer will be the intercostal nerves which are confined to supply only the thoracic wall. And what are these? And these are third to sixth. These 4 intercostal nerves are called typical intercostal nerves. Then what is the fate of T1 or T2? Let's see what is the fate of T1 and T2 and other nerves. The first thoracic nerve, it is the anterior ramus of first thoracic spinal nerve. Suppose this is first intercostal nerve or T1 nerve. This is the spinal nerve dividing into anterior ramus and posterior ramus. The anterior ramus again is dividing into one ascending branch and one descending branch. So this is the ramus. So this is the spinal nerve. This is anterior ramus. This is posterior ramus. Anterior ramus dividing into a larger, this is larger part, larger ascending and a smaller descending branch, ascending branch. So this ascending branch going to join with the C8 and that will form the part of the brachial plexus. You know the brachial plexus is formed by C5 to T1 spinal nerves are forming the brachial plexus. So this ascending branch of anterior rami of T1 nerve will form the brachial plexus. But the descending branch of anterior rami of T1 spinal nerve will be known as, this is actually first intercostal nerve. So if you are asked, what do you mean by first intercostal nerve? The answer will be in the smaller descending branch of anterior ramus of first thoracic spinal nerve. That branch branch will pass through the first intercostal space as first intercostal nerve. So this nerve is supplying both the thoracic wall as well as a part of the brachial plexus. It supplies the part of the upper limb. So that means it is supplying both the areas, thoracic wall and upper limb. So it is not a typical intercostal nerve. Similarly, if I consider the T2 or second intercostal nerve, what happens? T2. So this is T2 and this is anterior ramus of the T2 nerve. That means it is second intercostal nerve. This nerve goes like this and on its way it keeps a lateral cutaneous branch. Lateral cutaneous branch. And this is the main second intercostal nerve. There is one branch from this nerve. And this branch will ultimately come to the anterior thoracic wall and will be named as anterior cutaneous branch. This lateral cutaneous branch also called the intercostobrachial nerve. Why? Because this nerve supplying both the intercostal space as well as the brachium. Brachium means arm. So the name is intercostobrachial. Intercostobrachial nerve. So if you are asked, what do you mean by intercostobrachial nerve? It is the lateral cutaneous branch of ventral ramus of second thoracic spinal nerve, or in short, it is the lateral cutaneous branch of second thoracic nerve is called the intercostobrachial nerve because it supplies the second intercostal space as well as the upper part of the arm, and this branch will connect or will communicate with the medial cutaneous nerve of the arm, which is a branch from the medial cord of brachial plexus, and then supply the upper part of the medial and posterior side of the arm. So it is supplying the arm as well as the chest wall. So it is an atypical intercostal nerve, not typical. Then consider the other nerves. Other nerve means the other intercostal nerves. So what is the usual course of a intercostal nerve? That also we should know. And its distribution and its courses and branches Also very important. I am showing you just drawing a schematic diagram. I am drawing just to observe. Suppose one intercostal nerve I am drawing. Intercostal nerve. It may be third, it may be fourth, it may be sixth, it may be seventh, whatever may be. What is its course? Suppose this is the ventral ramus of a thoracic nerve. That means this is intercostal nerve, because I told you intercostal nerve means it is the ventral ramus of the thoracic spinal nerve. So this is ventral ramus of a thoracic spinal nerve, also called intercostal nerve. On its way, it is passing between two muscles. One is internal intercostal and inside internal intercostal, and outside another muscle is there, that is called external intercostal. So if I level them, it will be external intercostal, and the red one will be internal intercostal, and the green one is innermost intercostal. So the nerve is passing between the internal intercostal and innermost intercostal, and this going like this. If I trace it anteriorly, it looks like this. So on this way, one branch, it comes out like this. This is called lateral cutaneous nerve. Lateral cutaneous branch. This branch again divides into one ventral branch and one dorsal branch. And you all know this is the ventral ramus. So there should be one dorsal ramus. This is ventral ramus. So this is dorsal ramus. This dorsal ramus again divided into medial branch and lateral branch. This is medial, this is lateral branch. And this posterior branch of the lateral cutaneous, they will communicate with this one. And the main nerve is going like this, and it will pierce the internal intercostal and external intercostal to become cutaneous. That branch is called anterior cutaneous branch. So this anterior division of lateral cutaneous nerve will communicate with the anterior cutaneous branch, which is supplying the anterior wall of the chest. And another branch may be there, that is called collateral branch, which arises from the intercostal nerve and will run along with this nerve and may join with the main nerve, or it may pass through the internal intercostal and external intercostal and becomes cutaneous as an additional anterior cutaneous nerve, or sometimes it may again join with the main nerve. That nerve is called collateral branch. Collateral branch. And in the beginning, this ventral branch or ventral ramus will communicate one ganglia. That ganglia is connected with this nerve via two rami communicants. One is white rami communicants and communicants, and one is gray Raman communicants. What is gray Raman communicants and what is white Raman communicants will be discussed in the class of sympathetic nervous system or autonomic nervous system. So altogether, how many branches we got from an intercostal nerve? One is the ganglionic branch, this one, because this is the ganglia, sympathetic ganglia. So ganglionic branch, then collateral branch, and it is the anterior cutaneous branch, and this is the lateral cutaneous branch, which divides into anterior and posterior branch, and the main branch will pierce the internal intercostal and extra intercostal, and then becoming the cutaneous branch called anterior cutaneous branch. So these nerves supplying all these muscles of the intercostal spaces as well as the cutaneous supply, that means the wall of the thorax sensory sensation will be carried out by this intercostal nerve. So intercostal nerve, it is a mixed nerve having both the motor component and sensory component. The motor component supplying the muscles and the sensory component is supplying the skin of the thoracic wall, and some intercostal nerve supplying the upper arm, some intercostal nerve they are supplying the abdominal wall along with the thoracic wall, and last one, the subcostal nerve, it is supplying the abdominal wall as well as the gluteal region or gluteal skin. So, if you are asked how many intercostal brachial nerve are there, answer will be it is usually single. Which one? That is the undivided lateral cutaneous branch of T2. We know the T2, this is the T2 nerve, this is the lateral cutaneous, but it is not dividing into anterior and posterior like that of other lower intercostal nerves. This is undivided. So this nerve or lateral cutaneous nerve is called the intercostal brachial nerve. But sometimes from the third thoracic nerve, a small branch may arise, that is also called lateral cutaneous nerve, and if it is not divided and it goes to supply the arm, it is also called an second intercostal brachial nerve. This is first and this is second. First from the T2, second from T3. But this is not always present. So we will say the intercostal brachial nerve means it is the undivided lateral cutaneous branch of second thoracic nerve. And sometimes one applied question may be asked, why the involvement of breast carcinoma may produce pain along the medial side of the arm? The answer is very simple. Because the intercostal brachial nerve from the T2, it is going through the central lymph node of axilla, central axillary lymph node. Then it is going to communicate with the medial cutaneous nerve of the arm and supply the upper part of the medial and posterior side of the upper arm. And breast carcinoma, when it spreads to the axillary lymph node, it may involve the central lymph node as well, along with the other axillary group of lymph nodes. Sorry. So involvement of central axillary lymph node will compress the intercostal brachial nerve. So due to involvement of the central lymph node followed by involvement of the intercostal brachial nerve which supplies the upper arm, so the breast carcinoma may cause pain along the medial side of the arm. Very simple answer. And sometimes it may be asked, Can you tell me one example of atypical intercostal nerve? Yes, your answer will be T1, T2, then T7 to T12. All are atypical intercostal nerves because these nerves, they are not only confined to supply the thoracic wall, they are supplying the other areas as well. So, in summary, I can tell you very in nutshell, intercostal nerve is the ventral ramus of the thoracic spinal nerves, and there are 11 intercostal nerve and one subcostal nerve. T12 is the subcostal nerve, and the intercostal nerve, a typical intercostal nerve, they are following the intercostal space along the intercostal groove, along with the intercostal vein, intercostal artery, and intercostal nerve in this order from above downwards in between the two muscles, internally by innermost intercostal, externally by internal intercostal. Then along its course it gives off one collateral branch in the same space and one lateral cutaneous branch which is coming out piercing the internal intercostal and external intercostal and divides into anterior branch and posterior branch. And the main nerve, it is going forward and then it pierces the internal intercostal and external intercostal and becomes anterior cutaneous branch, and it may join with the anterior branch of lateral cutaneous branch. So the distribution of the intercostal nerves and the applied importance of the intercostal brachial nerve. So that is all for intercostal nerve. Next day we will discuss some other topic. So if you having any question, you write me in my comment box. I will discuss then. So thank you very much.